What's going on, guys? I'm your host from the East Coast, Jinder94, here to give you guys finally a video after so long. I'm here with a topic video because I was going to review Raw and Smackdown, but Raw was just so terrible that I felt like maybe if I compared both shows, maybe it'd be a better quality video, because I was just going to bury Raw anyway. That's pretty much what this is, but I'm also going to praise SmackDown for some of the things that it does as well. So I decided to mix, the two videos into one. It's been a very long week, so I apologize for the lack of content on the channel, but we are here with this video today. Now, I've broken this thing down into 4 to 5 sections of why SmackDown is better than Raw at this point. We got, storylines, time of the show, wrestling, entertainment, and match quality, because I feel like both of those kind of tie into each other. And then I added in the women's division at the end. So let's get into it. So let's start off with the storylines. Okay, SmackDown Live storylines make much more sense than Raw's do, because they transition into other feuds and people can be made to look important. It doesn't always have anything to do with the title or even the title being mentioned. And here's an example. Carmella and Nikki Bella. Their rivalry has been going on. They're fighting because, Carmella feels like she should be, way higher on the totem pole than Nikki Bella does. She feels like Nikki Bella slept her way to the top, and she's trying to make a name for herself by going after one of the top women in the WWE, trying to make a name for herself. So that's, one of the reasons they've been, battling back and forth. It has nothing to do with the women's title. They haven't even mentioned it in the rivalry. They've mentioned more about who Nikki Bella is sleeping with and, her injury than anything. So, it's a storyline that could eventually tie into the women's title, yes, but they're not deliberately saying, hey, this is going to lead to that. You know what I'm saying? It's a very important storyline that doesn't have anything to do with the title, but you're still invested into it because of how they're doing it, how they're executing it. It's all about execution with these things. On Raw, some of the storylines do make sense, but not a lot of them do. Most of the time, they just put two people together for the sake of wrestling, and the storyline doesn't make sense. Here's an example. Roman Reigns and Rusev. What did that storyline have to do with anything? What are they fighting over? First, it was Rusev and Lana celebrating their marriage, and Roman interrupted them. What did that have to do with it? Why did you interrupt them? What did Rusev do to you, Roman? Okay, what did Rusev do to you? He literally did nothing to provoke you to come out. He did nothing. You just wanted to interrupt it. They started fighting. They even got into the Hell in a Cell. I don't even feel like that feud was worthy of a Hell in a Cell match because of how the feud was portrayed, how the storyline was told, and how it was executed. Why did they need to fight inside Hell in a Cell? Was Roman jealous of Rusev because of his wife or something? Like, I see no wrong that Rusev did, and he's supposed to be the heel in this. What did Rusev do to provoke Roman Reigns to come out there? It didn't make sense to me. Now, let's move on, though. Another thing I want to talk about, the time of the show. Raw is 3 hours, SmackDown is 2. Raw having 3 hours could be a good thing, but they waste it. It was a good thing in the beginning. The idea of 3 hours when it first came out, it was like, okay, it's different, but hey, more wrestling for us. This could only be a good thing, right? And it's coming back to bite them in the ass. It was awesome because back then when they first did it, the product was good, it was enjoyable, it wasn't a task to watch the show. And now with the show being subpar, it's literally a burden to watch 3-hour Raws every Monday. With SmackDown being 2 hours, they don't have as much time, they have enough time. They can get straight to the point, work on their storylines, work on their feuds, get their promos in, build up more people, and all these things that could work against them, they're using to their advantage, and it really helps them out, and somehow they manage to produce quality shows. But it seems like with Raw, they have 3 hours, they have all the time in the world to make people important, have great matches, even if the matches go on for longer than they would normally do. They have the time to do it, but yet they just give you things like Golden Truth and the Shining Stars, and I mean, not saying these guys don't work hard enough, but they don't make them feel important. Like, what's the point of this? You literally, you keep doing these stupid things with all this talent that's being wasted on Raw that could potentially be something. When R-Truth turned heel with The Miz a few years ago, when they were feuding with John Cena and The Rock, that was great. It showed that R-Truth could have his chance to be in the main event of some things and feel important, and his character could be developed, and he wouldn't be taken as just a gimmick, as the guy who comes out there and sings his theme song and loses in 2 seconds. He actually had legitimacy to his character. They don't do that anymore. They don't do things like that anymore. Now it's just like it's to the point where they're coming out and he's not even singing the theme song no more. Like, what's the point? There's no point. There's literally no point in this. Like, they're wasting so much talent by just having them do stupid things. And they're trying to drag out the show, and then in turn, their ratings go down because the fans get tired of it. They don't want to see the same things over and over. You keep having the same matches with the same people. You have so many people on the Raw roster compared to SmackDown, but yet SmackDown finds a way to do it better. So there's something got to give here. Raw's supposed to be the dominant show. I say that in quotations because, with my eyes, SmackDown is the more dominant show to me right now. But Raw has all the time in the world, and they just waste it. And then people just turn the show off, and then they're wondering why nobody wants to watch Raw anymore, and people are just watching SmackDown. So, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. If you're not going to use the 3 hours to your advantage, just go back down to 2 hours. Simple. It's a simple solution to the problem, and that's that. Now, let's talk about the wrestling part of both shows, because I think both shows do provide good wrestling. But like I said, with SmackDown, it's just tying into the time of the show. They have less time to do it, so maybe sometimes their matches are a little bit more quickly done, quickly executed. Maybe the finish kind of, looks a little weird sometimes. Sometimes maybe somebody wins with a roll-up, or like, maybe not every time you get to see everybody's entrance or something. But, if there's an important match to be had, they'll make time for it on the show so that it gets the proper exposure it deserves. Example, I was at SmackDown a few weeks ago, like a month ago in September. The end of September, I was at SmackDown Live. It was AJ Styles versus Dean Ambrose for the WWE the World Heavyweight Championship. They gave them time to work. They gave them, I think, a good 15-20 minutes to get their stuff in. It wasn't just like, oh, you guys have 5 minutes for a title match. No, the match felt important. It was for the title. It had very deep ramifications going forward. They got their matches out of the way earlier in the show. They got their promos out of the way, but they still left enough time for the important title match to have the time that it needed. Now, maybe sometimes the product suffers, but if it's not, that bad of matches that are going on, it's not going to suffer that much. So it wasn't too bad. But, like I said, there's good matches happening on both shows. On Raw, it happens, but most of the time, it's like the main event match. Like, you'll have a good tag team match here and there, or, you even have the cruiserweights whose sole purpose is to, give you some more, excitement to the show, but they don't even let them have enough time. Like, you have time, but you're not giving people time. It doesn't make sense to me. SmackDown is doing what they can with the time that they have, but Raw is just like squandering their time and feeling like they gotta rush through everything, and it just doesn't make sense to me. But most of the time with Raw, the main event match is the best match, which is how it's supposed to be. But if you're not having those good solid matches throughout the show, nobody's gonna want to wait to the main event to see Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, or Chris Jericho and Roman Reigns. Nobody's gonna want to wait to see that. You got to give them something to lead up to the main event to be like, wow, okay, this show's been great so far. I can't wait for the main event now. That can't possibly be, as good as these matches are. It's definitely going to be up to par with that. But no, it's just like, here, let's just feed you all this 2.5 hours worth of crap, and then we'll give you the good match in the end. We'll try to send you home happy. But like I said, these gimmick matches they're having, like the one they had on Halloween with Enzo and Gallows, like, there's no point in that. You're making two legitimate tag teams look like fools. And that just goes back to wasting your talent. I just don't understand why. But, I know that they have to have the entertainment aspect of it. And, that's what I'm switching into now. The entertainment and the match quality. Raw having the 3 hours, you have the ability to be more entertaining than SmackDown Live does. but it's somehow you still fail to do so. Okay, you got your Goldberg moments, your Sting, your Brock Lesnar, which I still don't know why people like them, but they like them. They like seeing stuff like that. Like on Raw, there's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg face-off. Yeah, cool, sweet. Everybody's going to love it. But you can't just rely on all of your part-timers coming back in order to have a good show. You have more than enough talent on the roster to not only put on good matches, have very good promos, but be entertaining at the same time. It's not that hard to do. These are world-class athletes who are very skilled at what they do, and they have the ability to not only put on a good match, but entertain at the same time. But you got SmackDown, who, like I said, doesn't have that much time. I'm going to keep knocking that into you guys' heads. They still have room to be entertaining. Like, you throw a guy like James Ellsworth in there for a few segments, he's over. The crowd loves him. You know, you got the good tag team matches and the little side storylines, like I said, with Nikki Bella and Carmella, entertaining. Even sending the GM and the commissioner out there gets the fans happy. They don't have to do that much. They use the talent that they have and, you know, make them feel important. They're not out there having, you know, pumpkin on a pole matches and candy cane street fights. Like, they're not doing that. They're actually going out there, making themselves relevant, putting on great matches, entertaining the fans. It's simple. SmackDown is such a simple show, and it works. It works for them. Like, they even managed to get Heath Slater relevant. Heath Slater is relevant. He's a tag team champion on SmackDown. Like, and like I said, maybe sometimes the quality of the matches aren't, you know, excellent 5-star matches every time, but they're good enough to the point where you're satisfied with it. Like, okay, well, this match didn't go that long, or, you know, they didn't do a whole bunch, but they did enough to progress the storyline and to make them feel relevant. That's the whole thing. It's like they're probably moving the cruiserweights over to SmackDown as well. Like, if Kalisto beats Brian Kendrick at Survivor Series, the cruiserweight division switches over to SmackDown. Kalisto has a cruiserweight championship match, so he can bring the whole division to SmackDown. And I know they're getting their whole show, 205 Live or something like that, and that's good for them. They need their own separate show. They don't need to be on Raw, because Raw will not get them over. You just throw them out there every week in 8-man tags and 6-man tags and expect the crowd to enjoy the matches, and then you give them like 5 minutes to do so. What are they supposed to do in 5 minutes every week? There's 6 of them. They all got to get their stuff in. Like, you can't just expect them to go out there and do all of their stuff in 6 minutes. That's not what the CWC was. They let them shine. That's why some people know people like Cedric Alexander and Tony Nese and Rich Swann and Lince Dorado. They know people like this. Because, you know, okay, some of them came from the indies, so they already know them, but you get to see them even more now on the bigger platform like WWE. And Raw's just wasting them. So I really hope Kalisto actually wins and brings it to SmackDown. They'll feel way more important over there. Last thing I want to talk about is this women's division. Because on paper, Raw has the better women's division than SmackDown. You got Charlotte, Sasha Banks, Nia Jax, Bayley, Dana Brooke, Emma, Summer Rae. I think Paige is on Raw when she comes back from suspension, if she actually comes back. But, you know, women who can actually work, very entertaining, they can go. But yet, they're only building up 2 of them. Like, why are we not building up Nia Jax? Why? Why aren't we doing that? Do you see the size of this woman? This woman is a dominant force. Why are we not building her up? Maybe they will. Maybe I just got to be patient. But from the time of the draft till now, they haven't really done anything with her but let her kill Alicia Fox a few times. That's it. We're repackaging Emma. Why are we repackaging Emma? What point does that prove? What did she need a repackage for? The people that need a repackage don't get the repackage. But you're going to repackage Emma? She was great as she was. She got hurt, but she was coming back. The fans knew who she was. She's been putting on great matches since, you know, her feud with Paige in NXT, and she's been getting way better. She's been progressing, and now we're going to repackage her. Why? What is it, to Emelina? Because why not? You know, Why not? She's a serious threat in the women's division, but let's just redo everything about her and sexualize her because WWE. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. Like, she was fine the way she was, and now they're gonna repackage her and probably ruin her to the point where fans aren't gonna care about her. SmackDown also has impressive ladies as well. Let me not, completely crap on who they have, but it's not that many of them. You got Becky Lynch, you got Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Nikki Bella, Naomi, and Natalya. And somehow, back to the time thing, with the 2 hours that they have, all these ladies can put on more than one match per show, and they feel important. They can get their stuff in. Something fell behind me, sorry. So they can get their stuff in, and they can put on quality matches, have separate storylines, and they all feel important. Why are we not doing this on Raw? I know the talent of Sasha Banks and Charlotte. I know the talent that both of them have. I know the talent of Bayley. I know the talent of Nia Jax. Heck, even Summer Rae is more talented than people will give her credit for. I've seen her drop promos where it was very, very impressive, and it could possibly get her over, but they're not going to use her. She's just the jobber chick, and I feel like she's wasting her time. She could probably feel more important on SmackDown. But I will give credit to Raw because, these women are actually out there trying. They're trying to get over, but you got to give them the exposure. And sometimes the crowd doesn't help as well. Sometimes the crowd just needs to shut the hell up sometimes. Perfect example. Last week on Raw, they were in Glasgow, Scotland. And they were trying, Charlotte was trying to address the team. The women's team for Survivor Series, get them prepared to face SmackDown, but the crowd literally crapped on the segment so bad that Raw was already pre-taped. They had to edit that segment, and it was still terrible. Like, they were just chanting, they were singing at Bayley for most of the time, a good solid 2 to 3 minutes, and it was just like, that just takes away from the segment. And then people wonder why the women haven't been as important over the years. It's for those exact reasons like that. When they try to be serious and try to, make themselves feel important, make themselves more entertaining and, more appeasing on the wrestling side of things to the crowd won't give them a chance, and the crowd will just completely crap on them. And I can't agree with that. I really was disgusted at the fact that they wouldn't let that whole segment just happen. They just had to ruin it. They just had to hijack it. And then they wonder why WWE does certain things that they do. So I can't really blame WWE for that one, because the crowd is trying to hijack the show just so they can sing to Bayley. Doesn't make sense. But just to end all of this, all Raw has to do is, if they're going to be 3 hours, make the show enjoyable, and not only, wrestling or not only entertainment segments. Okay, you can have a balance of all those things. You need to do something for the sponsors, do it. You need to have guest hosts, do it. But do it to the point where it makes sense. Like the Ashton Kutcher thing, that made sense. He had, a little back and forth with Jericho on Twitter. They approached him on Raw. They didn't get it too involved with anything. They had a nice little segment backstage, and then they went on commentary. That was fine. You didn't have to do any extravagant things. They didn't have to get power bombed off the stage like MGK did. You didn't have to do all of that. It wasn't necessary. Make the storylines mean something, have a balance of wrestling and entertainment, and give the people who actually have talent an actual chance. I don't think it's too late for Raw, but if they don't want to lose all their fans, they need to do something immediately. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.